Good morning. Oh my God. Good morning. Good morning. Merry stupid o'clock. And guess what that means? It's another work day. So, you all, please enjoy your normal weekends. Normies. Just kidding. As always, welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels. And as usual at Stupid O'Clock, we are covering once again that horror show that is the JRC. While we are waiting to see how things go with the Senate in regards to removing public funding from these evil sons of bitches, we are going over some of the FDA testimonies of folks who were actual victims of the JRC and some of the advocates that came forward, something I've been looking for a long time. And now we have them on the channel. Obviously, I'm not awake yet. Few disclaimers. As always, you will find the link to this transcript of testimony under description box, along with other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign. And like I just mentioned a moment ago, we are getting ready to take that bill to remove public funding from the JRC after it has passed the House through the Senate. There is templates. There is a link to templates inside the description box that you can fill out, and we even provide for you the email to your representative. So please fill those out and get those sent in. We need all the help that we can possibly get to get this to stop. Also, the Change.org petition to shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down is always included because, let's face it, these guys are always able to get out of just about everything. If they appeal, they win. We've seen it time and again. So ultimately, the only way I can see these kids truly being safe is just shutting the place down. So please don't forget to sign that in case you haven't already. All right, another disclaimer. When we are talking about the JRC, especially the survivor testimonies, you are going to be hearing some vivid descriptions of, and sometimes clips of video surveillance footage of, people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young ones present, please use your headphones. Also, as you noticed, I'm a bit scatterbrained this morning. It is stupid o'clock, and I'm lucky I'm awake, let alone coherent enough to even speak at least somewhat understandably. So if I stumble over any words this morning, please, my apologies in advance. So, what we are taking a look at this morning from autisticcahoya.net is the transcript of Ian Cook's April 2014 testimony to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, aka the FDA, when they were holding an advisory panel hearing on the potential proposed ban of the electroshock devices, the GEDs. All right, so in April of 2014, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration held an advisory panel hearing on a potential proposed ban of aversive conditioning devices used for contingent electric shock. The Judge Rotenberg Center in Canton, Massachusetts, is the only known institution currently to use such devices for behavioral modification. Ian Cook, excuse me, a survivor of the JRC, who spent several years in that institution, gave testimony in person. This is the transcript of that testimony taken from the official hearing transcript. Excuse me. Mr. Cook. Hello, I am Ian Cook. My legal name is Hillary Cook, and thank you for having me here today. I was a student at JRC from 2006 to 2009. It was on the GED for the majority of the time I was there. The only good thing that the JRC did for me was taking me off of my medication. It turned out they were at the root of my problems. The GED, however, didn't help me at all. On the contrary, I had been put on the GED due to my previous aggressive behavior. That said, I cannot remember a single time I was ever shocked for said behavior. So this is kind of a loaded paragraph here. It makes me wonder what type of medications that they were putting him on. Remember, parents, when I told you you got to just question your doctor. You can't take what they say blindly. A lot of times medication can do a lot more harm than good. You gotta do your homework. You gotta do your homework. Because sometimes the medicines that we are taking, remember, they put me on Ritalin. That didn't have such a great effect on me. It made me more aggressive, more easily annoyed than I would be with my normal mode of operating. So, yeah. Also, the fact that his aggressive behavior came from the pills, and once the pills were gone, he was fine. If they slapped the GED on him anyway, and that he doesn't remember a single time where he was actually shocked for being aggressive. Good God. Most of my shocks were for noncompliance or disruption. Oh my God, why am I not surprised? If we think back to what we went over yesterday in Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet, you remember what they had listed as noncompliance, right? Not obeying the teachers within 5 seconds of being given a command, or any sort of what they would consider a disruption. I don't know how me moving my hands over here being completely silent is somehow a distraction to you, normies, but get over it. Because if I'm not making any noise and I am not in any way affecting you, that's your attention span, and you might be the one who needs to seek a little bit of help for that. Just saying. I definitely don't deserve to be shocked for it. In fact, I was also subject to a method known as BRLs. While I was sitting in a restraint chair, a staff would burst into my conference room. I was one-on-one alone with staff and screamed at me to hurt him holding a knife. Even though I did absolutely nothing and sat there in shock, not having any idea what was going on, I would receive a shock from the GED device. What the hell? This happened a couple of times a week at first and left me in a constant state of fear, never knowing when I'd be hurt for no reason. This is blatant mind games. Holy crap. Yay, the cat finally moved. So, this is blatant mind games. This is something that the JRC does a lot, where they will prompt a bad behavior in order to shock the students. And they believe somehow this is helpful. Matthew Israel has talked about it before. It's this preemptive thing where they will provoke the behavior and then out of the person and then punish them for said behavior so as to, I don't know, somehow tell them that that behavior is inappropriate. Where's the logic? How does that work exactly? If they don't want to do it because they already know it's wrong, why do you keep trying to provoke them to do it? I don't get it. I really don't get it. That's just fucking sick, and I don't understand it. My very, very basic knowledge of psychology, I don't understand how that's supposed to work and do anything other than further traumatize the kid. Maybe is it just me? My experiences with the GED have affected me to this day. I now suffer from a fear of authority, a fear of being controlled, and I panic when presented with either. This is something that's been a common thread throughout all the survivors that have come forward. People who are afraid of those authority figures, that fear of being controlled completely, not being allowed to disobey. I've talked about this before in reference to the ABA. When you are absolutely in fear of doing anything other than obeying that person, you leave yourself open for even more abuse that way. So why the hell are we drilling this into the heads of autistics at earlier and earlier ages? It's dangerous. Just saying. And I panic, and remember, he panics when presented with either. A side note, I was in an abusive relationship 2 years ago. And part of why I fell prey to it, my belief, is that the JRC instilled a lesson in me that it is okay for people to hurt me so long as they are trying to correct me. This is very true, and it's a sad thing. A lot of us who've gone through horrific things in childhood and early to late adolescence do end up in abusive relationships down the line. It's real easy to take advantage of us. It is real easy, and it's sad. It takes a while to get jaded enough, and sometimes, even when you are jaded enough, you still act almost like on autopilot, for lack of a better term, to to still kind of be that way, to just accept whatever somebody's dishing out. And it's sad. And it never really goes away. It's just something you have to work on and be constantly aware of. I have, to my best knowledge, not experienced any beneficial effects, both either short term or long term, from the effects of the GED. Remember, we have talked about this. Even the people at the JRC has stated that these machines do not have any long term results in regards to stopping what they're saying they're trying to stop. They take the people off the devices and they say the behaviors return. If that is true, what is the point? Exactly. If it's not a long term solution, and in order to quote unquote stop the aggressiveness, you just have to keep shocking them. What is it? What is the point other than abuse for abuse's sake? If medication is having a better overall result and I'm not getting constantly abused with it, then yeah, I'm gonna go with the medicine. But again, even with psychotropics, parents, do your homework. Do not accept what the doctors tell you blindly. Please listen to me on this. I would strongly suggest, based on my personal experience and ongoing difficulties, that the FDA ban the current and future use of the device. Thank you very much for having me. So, this is another horrific testimony of another individual who puts the lie to this idea that the JRC is trying to convince us all that most students only get one shock a week, and it's only for aggressive or self-injurious behavior. That is two testimonies now, plus a medical document that puts the lie to what they are saying. And so far, nobody's calling them out on that lie except us. Where do you see any of these testimonies spoken about in any of the media coverage, even from those that are actually on our side? Nowhere. Where is it counter argued? that they are not just being shocked for aggressive and self-injurious behavior. When we have the literal medical document showing otherwise. Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Even those articles that have been on our side so far still always quote to treat aggressive and self-injurious behavior without even looking into how the JRC defines that. So, the reality is very different from what the media has been trying to paint. Very, very different. That's why it's always important to do your homework. Read these testimonies. You don't have to believe us advocates, but for the love of God, believe the survivors. And why can you believe the survivors? They could be lying, right? Because they, like a certain someone else I know by the name of JD, they have the evidence to back them up. Jennifer Masumba comes bearing her medical documents from the JRC days. Andre McCollins comes with a 7-hour video surveillance tape of what happened to him in 2002. Okay? We have medical documents of the Andre McCollins events, of the Ian, I forget his last name, of the Torres events. We've got the documents to back up what these survivors are saying. So, when we advocates are telling you, when we paint you this picture, we don't do it just on rumor. We're not just taking these words at face value. We've got mountains of evidence to back it up, including even investigations from private organizations that have nothing to do with the neurodiversity movement or the JRC at all. And with that thought, I'm going to go ahead and close out for this morning. Now, we don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, as Tug would say, feed that pesky algorithm. Please don't forget to hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.